Gentlemen, I have returned. Now, I have mentioned before that I am extremely racist. That is not the best choice of words to start this video. I am extremely xenophobic. That's only slightly better. My point with this is I will be waving the flag of humanity even as Big E kicks the bucket and the Tyranids consume us all, because we are the best in the West. However, if there was going to be another species that I could give a very distant second best to, it would be the Orks. So I'm going to talk about them. So Orks weren't always Orks. Orks used to be Krorks, and Krorks were created by the Old Ones to be these towering giants that would help in the war against the Necrons and the Catan. Given that the Catan were Dr. Manhattan-style reality warpers, the Krorks were built different, but that's not why we are here. What you need to know is the Krorks eventually devolved into the Orks, or evolved, depends how you want to look at it. In the modern Milky Way, Orks are much smaller, they're dumber than spit, and they have enough joy in them to put the galaxy at a net positive happiness index. Orks are the living embodiment of faking it till making it. Their society is fragmented and far from being united. They're barbaric, primitive, inefficient. They lack logical reasoning, philosophy, modern science. They use orc teeth for money. And civil war is seen as a national pastime, a patriotic duty. Yet they're one of the most feared species in a galaxy that contains such advanced technology it's beyond understanding. They achieve this by choosing to do so. In reality, the Orks do have a lot of things going for them, at least on a physiological level, I think that's a word. Most are bigger than humans, much stronger, tougher skin. They don't have pain receptors. They do have pain boys, which are their doctors, and they solve every problem with amputation. And it kind of works. After all, if it worked for our ancestors, there's no reason it can't work for them. Except they take it a step further. They amputate, and then they will look for whatever part they need, and they will nail it back to the orc with a non-zero success rate. Even if it makes a bloody mess, that's a good thing, because orc blood creates fungus spores, and these fungus spores eventually grow into more orcs. There are many different types of orcs. I think like 5. You got the squigs, who are both food and pets. They live in the actual shitholes of their society, and they feed on the fungus, and in turn, the orcs feed on the squigs. The squigs also feed on their caretakers, who are the snotlings, which takes us to the snotlings. They are the tiniest of the orcs. They're like mini goblins, and they're the servants of orc society. They do all the boring work, and literally nobody cares. A flock of squigs can get out and eat 1,000 snotlings, and that's a good thing. It means the squigs will be fatter when it comes time to harvest. Or maybe it doesn't even make it that far. Maybe an orc boy trips and accidentally ate a snotling on the way down. These things just kind of happen. An aircraft intake is clogged? Send a snotling in there to clean it up. When he says he's done, you fire it up to see if it's working. It turns on, and the snotling gets sucked into the turbine and shredded. And now it's clogged again. But it's nothing that another snotling can't clean up. They don't really see battle, but if they do, they're basically a free but useless cannon fodder, which actually says a lot because all orcs are cannon fodder. Like the Gretchen, who are just goblins. They are the industry standard cannon fodder. They're also mainly servants, but given that they're slightly larger and a bit smarter, they're seen as slightly less useless, but just barely. They're more likely to see battle, less likely to be eaten, but guaranteed to be the first one into a minefield. Finally, we have orc boys, taller and stronger than the average human, and they fill various jobs, including, but not limited to, pain boys, mech boys, wild boys, fly boys, weird boys, mad boys, some boys, and brew boys. Pain boys are doctors, mech boys are mechanics, wild boys are explorers, fly boys are pilots, weird boys are magicians, mad boys are hooligans, some boys are bankers, and brew boys are cooks. Now, in case this long list didn't give it away, orc boys are the standard orc, and they're the ones we see most commonly in the setting. One fascinating thing about orcs is that they continually grow the longer they live and the more they fight. So while I'm pretty sure snotlings and Gretchen can grow to orc boy size on paper, they never actually see enough fighting for that to happen, and they usually don't live long enough for it to matter anyways. Which is the case for almost every orc. Most orcs die before they grow insanely large. Though when there is an orc that grows larger than all the others, the orcs believe might makes right, so that large orc is now their war boss. And if they can survive even longer, grow even bigger, they become a warlord. These commanders can gather and lead orcs in a wa, which is how they pronounce war. Now, stepping back for a second, remember how I said earlier that orcs come from Krorks, and Krorks were designed by the old ones to fight matter-manipulating Catan? Well, the old ones, in their infinite wisdom, achieved this by making the Krorks a type of psyker, I guess? That's the best way to describe it? That also manipulates reality. I imagine that in the Krorks this effect was much more potent, but nonetheless the orcs inherited it all the same. So all orcs have this weird psychic power to them, and when they're all gathered together in a wall and riled up, the psychic energy forms into a collective and goes absolutely ballistic. This is the energy that the weird boys draw upon to give them their psyker powers. They actually don't draw on the warp. Now, this comes with its own set of challenges and potential dangers, but if the orcs aren't worried about them, I don't see why we should be. This collective energy does form a presence in the warp though, and it manifests as the gods of the orcs, Gork and Mork. Gork is brutal but cunning, and Mork is cunning but brutal. In other words, Gork represents strength and beating stuff up, where Mork represents strength and beating stuff up, but also like the sliver of underlying intelligence orcs have. This collective Wa energy also has a sort of reality warping power to it. Now, the extent of this power is honestly up for debate, and it depends on the size and nature of the Wa, who's leading it, what kind of weird boys are in it. It could just make the orcs a bit tougher, higher morale, more accurate than usual, something subtle like that. Or it can go full-blown Looney Tunes, breaking the laws of physics and all that jazz. In the lore, it seems to swing more towards the subtle side, but in reality it's just a plot device for the writers to explain whatever they want. Think of like the Speed Force for the Flash, and how it explains all the stupid shit he does. Here, I'll give you an example. Flash, you were deleted from existence, and the Earth got thrown into the 86th dimension of eternal night. How did you save us? Well, you see, first I shoved a bowl of Lucky Charms up my ass, and then the Speed Force. It's like that. But by all means, if you want to unleash the Toon Force, don't let me stop you. Their greatest power, though, and the one that makes me love orcs so much, is that orcs love their life. Orcs don't have to answer any hard questions, because they never asked any hard questions. Orcs don't have to worry about their destiny, their future, or their role in it. Orcs spend their existence doing what they want to do, exactly what they want to do. They live life on their terms, and they're having great success in the galaxy. And they're capable of even further success. They just don't care enough to unite and do so. Because why do that? You don't need a galaxy-spanning empire to fight. They just have to walk outside. So, from their point of view, humans are the stupid ones. Which actually reminds me, orcs obviously are stupid, but as they grow larger, they don't just get stronger, they also seem to get smarter as well. This is just me going off the cuff a little bit, but in the War of the Beasts, there was an orc who had grown to be like 10 meters tall. But that wasn't the scary part. The scary part was he was intelligent. He spoke Gothic. Think about that. You're the Imperium, the orcs have caused you nothing but trouble, they vastly outnumber you, they're endlessly ferocious, and there are only two things you got going for you. That is that orcs aren't the brightest bulbs, and that they love murking each other just as much as humans. Then this 35-foot orc just shows up out of nowhere, and he's smarter than you. You have just discovered a prime orc, and everything you thought you knew about orcs gets thrown into the toilet. These orcs appear to be similar to Krorks. Tarzan has a Krork in his museum, and he's described as being a little bit larger, so maybe they're like a sort of demi-Krork, but nonetheless, they're still scary. But that was just one problem. The second problem is that the beast was able to form a cohesive force that was beginning to take the shape of an empire. He was getting the orc infighting under control, which gets rid of both of the problems that orcs suffer from. Now, the beast is dead as dog shit, but we see something similar happening with Gaskull, who is the current largest orc in the setting. He's nowhere near the size of a prime orc. Wait, I just realized what they did with that. But he is still growing, and when he captured Sebastian Yarrick, he talked to him in High Gothic, which leads me to believe that if orcs could stop killing each other for a while, they might eventually grow back into full-blown Krorks. For now, though, we have to settle for Gaskull, who just pulled out of the Third War for Armageddon, and he's currently flying around the galaxy gathering all the orc warlords to his cause, and amassing the largest Wa that has been seen in thousands of years. So the potential for Gaskull to grow into a prime orc is definitely there, and I hope it happens. The idea of Gilliman Orc Edition is amusing to me. If he becomes a prime orc, the Fourth War for Armageddon is going to go absolutely crazy. I think the Space Wolves are hunting him right now, and maybe that's when Lehman will return, in which case there goes that idea. But either way, fellas, I think it's time for me to depart. I had a lot of fun talking about this, just like the orcs have a lot of fun living, and the irony that the least technologically advanced species in the galaxy is also the happiest is not lost on me. If you don't want me to be lost on you, you can subscribe. If you like this video, you can like it, but you probably already pieced that together, in which case if you disliked it, you know what to do. If there's anything you want me to talk about, let me know. Again, maybe I won't cover it, maybe I will, I'm winging this. But I'll see you next time, gents. Until then.